don't have it.
Yes, I will gladly take those off your hands.
So, Matthew 23. Starting with verse 13. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Because you just got done talking about where... You okay, honey?
Yeah, I forgot to give you your morning.
What's the matter? Is it irritating you?
No. Is it irritating you?
Unintentional pun. Okay. But you're going to be fine, you think? Alright.
It's just the cap is too close to the ear, so it's hard to get that part off.
Okay. We can work with Grandma.
Yeah, it's just hurting every time I move it.
Alright. Did you put some ocean spray on it?
Possibly.
Cranberry juice. Indeed. Okay, so let's get serious, gang. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because we just got done talking about the first 12 verses. Jesus was talking about hypocrites are not people you're supposed to call pastor, father, rabbi, teacher, instructor, leader.
Bless you.
If you're a hypocrite, you have no business leading others. Because both will do what? Fall into the blind leading the blind, and both fall into the...
Pit.
Very good. Blind guides, hypocrites are blind guides. They say one thing, they do another. And if you need me to help you work with that, I will. Okay.
I'll help you after.
So it says here, verse 13, but woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut down the kingdom of heaven in people's faces, for you neither enter in yourselves. In other words, you don't work with principles, because this is the first of the 7 woes. Because what is the kingdom about? It's about sons. It's about sons building. And the first of the 7 redemptive gifts is the redemptive gift of?
Profit.
Yes. With the principle of?
Freedom?
No, that's the ruler. Design. So, he's talking about you shut the kingdom of heaven in other people's face. The kingdom of heaven is built using principles. Theology makes a wonderful fence, but terrible building blocks. A fence doesn't build a house really well. It protects a house, it doesn't build a house. Theology is the fence, principles are the building blocks. So, shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. For you neither enter yourselves, so in other words, you Pharisees are not building with building blocks, you're building with fences.
Because they were putting on heavy burdens, so people felt like there was no way they could get there. Rather than bringing hope, they were bringing almost like damnation. It was almost like saying, "Oh, you have no chance."
Yeah.
Oh.
Something that might actually help is if you actually spray it directly on the air. Anyway,
Let me take the
super
earring off
saturate.
first. Let me take it off first. It's gonna hurt. It won't be that bad. And then you can just, let it rest for a bit.
For you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces, for you neither enter yourselves, you don't use principles, and you don't use building blocks, and you don't allow those who would enter to go in. They're not building, and they're not allowing people to become builders, but the kingdom of heaven is designed for builders. It's designed for sons who will build, who know building blocks, and don't build with fencing materials. Our responsibility is to bring people into the kingdom, and our responsibility is to build alongside them and show them how to build. The Pharisees were not doing this. The prophets, when they're working at their highest potential, build. And they show others and coach others how to build. Now, the downside of this is they have to learn to work with a bunch of imperfect people. They typically work at the extremes. Their personality is extreme. They work with the extremes. They either work with leaders or they work with the abjectly broken. But a leader who's not willing to build, the prophet's going to say, woe to you. Because the prophet was made to build. At the highest function, they were made to build. And they're made to show others how to build. Jesus is talking to the Pharisees about their refusal to build and their refusal to let others who have the desire, capacity, moxie, and tools to build from building. TLDR is the Pharisees did not want others to build, they didn't want to show others how to build, and they themselves did not build.
TLDR?
Too long, didn't read. I gave a very long sentence and I decided to shrink wrap it.
Sorry.
That's fine.
It's not an acronym
It's
I'm familiar with.
It's part of the Zoomer culture. Not part of the Boomer culture. Or the Builder or the Buster culture. It's part of the Zoomer culture. So TLDR is internet speak for too long, didn't read. So I've given you the Cliff Notes version or the Sparks Notes version. The Masterplots version, as the case may be. So, our responsibility is to, from this first woe, to remember what the thing that Jesus is driving home. He's driving home, if we expect to not be hypocrites, we need to practice what we preach. Prophets are always consistent, usually. They may have one or two areas of hypocrisy that they have to deal with. They bless you generously with financial blessing or whatever the case, and then they turn around and they castigate you for squandering the Lord's money. They cry for justice, and they can level some of the harshest injustices on certain groups of people, or whatever the case. Our responsibility is to enter in and to allow those who would enter to go in. Our job, and especially those who are prophets, are to build, to learn how to build, to know how to build, to become skillful in building, and to say to others, this is how you build. You don't build with theology. Theology is not the be-all and end-all. Principles are. Principles, building blocks. Slavery is not the issue. Obedience is not the issue. Obedience is not the end game.
It's the bottom floor.
Sonship, building the kingdom, is the end game. Do you have anything to add, my dear? So, this is a real short and punchy teaching because I'm going to move for the next 7 days, or the next 7 sessions, into each of these woes briefly. This is a foretaste. Give you some ideas as to what's going on with the redemptive gift of prophet, and I will be happy to post in the description a link to my blog post on the redemptive gift of prophet. So, we love you guys, and we bless you here from the gathering at Beersheba. Be blessed.